So I've just watched the Sergey Kovalev Eleider Alvarez fight. Going into the fight, I would have obviously favored Sergey Kovalev because my lack of awareness of Eleider Alvarez, I'd say, you know what I mean? I've seen fights of him, nothing really sprung out to me, you know? And yeah, I think you gotta be careful with these type of fighters, you know? That kinda are under the radar, maybe not as much exposure as other fighters. Alvarez, I think he has been fighting on HBO a couple of times. I've seen the Jean-Pascal fight. Jean-Pascal also not the fighter that he once was, you know what I mean? He's obviously a little shot one. But Alvarez, he reminds me of Badou Jack. If you think about it from a skill set, they're pretty similar, man. Very solid technique, good hand speed, they go to the body, educated jab. Yeah, Alvarez reminded me a lot of Badou Jack, man. And when you think of the Adonis Stevenson fight, Badou Jack fought also pretty similar. Also, Adonis Stevenson didn't have maybe the best time finding his rhythm against Badou Jack. Like both Adonis Stevenson and Sergey Kovalev, they're good punchers. Adonis Stevenson especially. They can be outboxed, although they're not like one-tracked, like one-dimensional type of brawlers or aggressors. You know what I mean? They have a lot of technique to their offensive skills. Like the Andre Wards, the Badou Jacks, Eleider Alvarez, these type of fighters that you would underestimate, you know? But they do a lot of things very well, maybe nothing especially great. It's the complete package that eventually becomes greatness. Physical strength of Alvarez, size, you know what I mean? He did a good job with his fast hands going to the body, Alvarez early, consistently touched Kovalev to the body. And give credit to Kovalev also because he was touching the body. And when I think of Kovalev, I always think of that 1-2-1. Because he doesn't really throw that left hook too much, but I think he has worked on that and he has shown a decent left hook. But a lot of times it's more like a repositioning left hook that he will throw and kind of use it like as a gauging stick, you know what I mean? After throwing his 1-2. But a lot of times also he's like feinting you with his feet, with his mobility, while being the aggressor, and has a tendency to kind of feint his opponents out of position, which we've seen in that fight. He'll like throw that 1-2 and then throw a stiff jab. He throws his jab as a power punch. And that's probably one of the reasons why he hasn't maybe developed his left hook as much, you know? It does kind of work against him. Really, his style is somewhat unconventional if you look the way Sergey Kovalev stands, you know? It's almost like a karate style or something, you know what I mean? And that also came back to haunt him against Alvarez, man. Alvarez, they were talking about him like crushing his knuckles. He only can like use 2 of the 4 when throwing his right hand. A lot of times I've seen also Alvarez throwing that left hook, man. I thought that was going to be a factor, you know? Thinking that might be his more powerful punch. And that might be one of the reasons why he just can't maybe sustain like going power for power with Kovalev, you know what I mean? Especially earlier, maybe that was also down to the game plan of that guy Ramsey, his coach. You know, taking Kovalev a little bit into the later rounds and then maybe sitting down on his punches a little bit more, you know? He was very much picking his punches early, Alvarez, you know, fighting very intelligently. I gave him the first 3 rounds and it was interesting to hear Harold Letterman, the guy that does the scorecards for HBO. He pretty much had a shutout for Kovalev, I think. He gave like 2 rounds of the first 3 to Kovalev, 1 to Alvarez. I didn't see that, man. First 3 rounds, like Kovalev had trouble getting into a groove, getting into a rhythm, you know. He was getting outboxed. That offbeat jab, man, that was issue for Kovalev, you know. I don't think he expected maybe Alvarez to be able to jab with him, you know. He was getting cracked a couple of times with good right hands and maybe there was a little wobble for Kovalev, but coming into the 4th round and especially in the 3rd, also in the 3rd I felt like that was a very close round, you know. It could have gone maybe either way, but I gave it to the guy showing still technique. Maybe the momentum hasn't turned totally, you know what I mean? Because Kovalev was very active in his body language, but still for me the technique won out for me in the 3rd round for Alvarez. So going into the 4th, Kovalev seemed to kind of take that momentum from the 3rd round where he was very active and started like somewhat shoe shining. You know, he was trying to box and land counters and counter Alvarez or trying to lead, trying to pressure Alvarez. He wasn't finding his range too well in the first 3 rounds, but in the 4th round he started like stepping in and kind of shoe shining himself into a rhythm. That's what I seen. I didn't think Alvarez necessarily liked that too much, you know. There were moments where it looked like Kovalev, when finding his rhythm, he might have stunned Alvarez. You know, Alvarez kind of leaning to his right a couple of times, crouching a little bit, catching a couple of right hands. Like, Kovalev did a good job, like, adjusting with his right hand. Off that, like, shoe shine rhythm that he found, he was able to kind of, like, shorten up his right hand a couple of times and land that right hand. Or maybe it's like a short right hook almost, you know? And Kovalev does that very well. And then he also found a very good rhythm boxing, actually. I felt like the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th I gave to Kovalev. I think he started boxing in the 6th and going into the 7th, it almost looked like to me, alright, now Kovalev has found his rhythm boxing, you know, now he's jabbing on the back foot actually. And then all of the sudden, he throws a jab, hands waist high. That's what I mean, the way he stands, it's not totally conventional, you know, he's not protecting himself. As much as he's a technical offensive boxer, I don't know if he has I don't think he's as good in his defense as he is, and especially technical as he is in his offense, you know. Throws a jab, brings it back kind of low, and Alvarez times a beautiful right hand, man. And that right hand Kovalev took pretty well, but he took his count, you know, stood up, had a little bit of a dazed look, but continued to try to fight. He came back into the fray, not throwing though, just taking punches. Like Kovalev, yeah, he has that little bit of zombie thing going on. I mean, he took a very heavy knockdown, but didn't Andre Ward kind of rock him with that right hand? That's something I guess he has trouble with. And yeah, from then on, he was just getting popped with jabs and right hands. It was just like beautiful punch picking by Alvarez, and Kovalev gets dropped again, gets up, is pretty groggy, you know, pretty fucked up, and gets dropped again. 3 knockdowns, fight's over, ref waves it off. I think Alvarez took the title of Kovalev. I didn't see the Bivol fight against Chilemba. They were talking about Bivol against Kovalev and stuff like that, right? Alvarez is a good fighter, man. I'd like to see Bado Jack Alvarez, man. Although, you know, Adonis Stevenson, Bado Jack, they might have a rematch. Who knows what goes on there, you know what I mean? But yeah, congratulations to Eleider Alvarez winning a title, WBO title, light heavyweight. Good stuff, man. Alvarez also fought Pascal. Knocked out Lucien Bute. Very good performance against Bute. Also beat Chilemba. Alvarez, very good fighter. Especially interesting since like they were talking about him not having the best power. Well, he stopped Sergey Kovalev. Knocked the fuck out. They say TKO, man. To me, if a dude like gets waved off while he's on the ground, man, how is that fucking TKO? You have to get counted out? Really? When does that happen, man? When a guy is like completely out and the ref steps in and waves it off, what's that? To me, if a dude like gets waved off like that, that's almost a KO to me. You know what I mean? 3 knockdowns in 1 round. Can't continue, can't get up. Let's not say can't get up. He probably would have gotten up, but let's not see a fighter do the Trevor Berbick. We don't want to see that. You know what I mean? Just call it a knockout. I don't know, man. Kovalev just got cracked there. Maybe they're gonna have a rematch. Who knows what's gonna happen, you know? I don't know. I'm just talking out of my ass right now. I just wanted to give my thoughts. Alright, thanks for listening. I'm out.